Strobe Studios presents Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger in The Watson Files. Coming to you from the illustrious Strobe Studios in the heart of America, this is Craig Dahlen. And now, let's join the doctor and see what story he has for us today.
Good evening, Mr. Dahlen.
Hello, Dr. Watson, and how are you doing this evening?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. I was just finishing up grinding some of my homegrown sage leaves.
I was wondering what that was I smelled.
Yes, fresh sage has a specific aroma.
So, Doctor, what is this ghost story you're going to be sharing with us this week?
Well, I didn't think we'd had a good ghost story for a while, so I think it's high time I tell you about Belling's ghost.
I do enjoy a good ghost story.
So does Spencer, which is why he brought the whole thing up when I had stopped by one day.
Come in, Watson.
And how did you know I was there?
Really, Jack. First, I invited you over. Second, I heard the front door as you came in. And thirdly, it is 2 o'clock, and you are nothing if not prompt.
Well, thank you, Spencer. I suppose it's all quite obvious once you know the answer. So, why have you called me over here today? To verify a flare-up of your Demetrius Perflectorius?
That's Deputrian Hamelica, and no, that's not it.
Am I to bear witness to your latest sunlight enhancement experiment?
No, but you're getting closer.
Have you finally made some progress on your brain implantation device?
Actually, I have, Watson. Would you care to step into the laboratory?
No, not specifically.
All right, fine, it's not that.
So what is it then?
Oh, I thought you were having fun guessing.
The fun is over, I guess. Tell me.
I'd rather show you. Here, hold this.
Not that I don't trust you, but what exactly am I holding?
My variation of a Tesla coil transceiver. I think I may have figured out how to power everything in my place wirelessly. Now, let me just turn this on.
You did manage to wirelessly turn off the lights, I see.
It can't always work perfectly, can it? Let me open the shades. There. Now, did you feel anything?
No.
Well, at least I've remedied that little problem.
What problem?
Oh, nothing. Anyway, the real reason why I asked you over was to let you know we have a case.
Well, it's about time. And what is it this time?
According to Mr. Peterson, it's a ghost.
A ghost?
Or more precisely, a smoking ghost.
So, what do we know about this ghost, Spencer?
Only what Mr. Peterson told me over the phone. That he recently moved into a new house and has been having some odd experiences. He did some historical research into the house and discovered that it may be haunted. On that end, I guess we'll see. Ah, here we are, the last house on the left. He told me to just pull into the driveway.
Mr. Holmes, so glad you could make it.
I am Spencer Holmes, and this is Watson, my associate.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Watson.
Dr. Watson, actually. Nice to meet you, Mr. Peterson.
Please, both of you, call me Caleb. Now, if you will both follow me upstairs to my study, I can explain exactly why I've asked you here. Please, have a seat. As I mentioned during our phone call, I recently moved into this house. My daughter went off to college last year, and Stephanie and I said we would move into a nice Victorian-style house when it was just the two of us. We were overjoyed when we found this house on the market. It's sort of famous.
This is the Doolittle house, isn't it?
Very good, Mr. Holmes.
Please, Caleb, call me Spencer.
Well, Spencer, you are correct. This is the Doolittle house, once owned by Union General Charles Doolittle. But, as it turns out, that is not the particular resident that is giving me trouble. In the early 1900s, the house was bought by a magician and reputed mystic known as Bellings, and that is who I believe has been smoking my cigars.
He's doing what?
And where has this been taking place?
Right here in this very room. I do like my cigars, and I have a humidor downstairs, but I keep a selection of them in the cigar box on my desk.
Under the origami dragon?
Yes, my daughter made that for me years ago. I keep it here where I can see it every day, and as you can see, the box is full. But almost every day one seems to disappear, and sometimes I can smell fresh smoke even when I haven't had any that day.
Have you ever actually witnessed anything?
No, nothing. Mr. Bellings always makes his move when I'm out of the room.
And I trust you have already consulted Mrs. Peterson about the incident?
It is not Stephanie. She might be a fan of my cigars, but she was out of the house during several of the episodes.
What is it, Holmes?
Nothing yet. We shall see. But we won't discover anything until we leave this room and let the culprit make his move.
I have an idea, Holmes.
You do?
Don't sound so surprised. Let me run out to my car for a moment. I will be right back. So I figured we could use these motion detectors by aiming them at the cigar box itself.
And why exactly did you have motion detectors in your car, Watson?
Why, because of the rabbits.
Rabbits?
Yes, they have been getting into my herb garden a lot lately. I thought if I hooked a few of these up to some flashing lights in my backyard, it might discourage the bunnies from nibbling on all my plants. I had just picked them up on my way over to meet you today.
How fortuitous for us. Set them up.
I'll put them up on the bookshelves pointing at the desk. Here, Caleb, this transceiver can plug into any USB port. I assume you have a laptop somewhere.
Of course, Jack. Come with me downstairs, Spencer, and you can ask any more questions while I set this up on my computer.
Good idea. So how many cigars have gone missing in all, do you believe?
Wow, so far I'm intrigued. A ghost magician? I can't wait to see how this turns out.
I can only assume you are impressed as much by my excellent storytelling as you are by the situation itself. But I have the feeling you are going to be a little surprised by how this story unfolds.
Why is that?
Well, if you would be a little patient, I will finish the story.
Sorry.
So, I came back in and set up my little devices and caught up with Holmes in the downstairs living room. Have you got that all set up, Caleb?
Yes, it just finished installing the software, and there they are online.
Okay, let me make sure we have the alerts set up.
Tell me more about this Bellings person, Caleb.
Of course, from what I have read, he was a pretty big performer in his day, doing all kinds of illusions and escapes, much of the same sort of things that Houdini was famous for doing around the same time. Just like Houdini, Bellings was very interested in the afterlife, and at one point claimed that he had discovered the secret to coming back from the grave.
Houdini often said that he would reach out from the grave. They still conduct seances on the anniversary of his death every year, but there has never been any kind of contact made.
Bellings never claimed he would reach out to anyone. He only said that he had learned how to return from death.
So what makes you think it is this Bellings fellow who is haunting your study?
I've done a little research, and it turns out he was a huge connoisseur of cigars. Late in his career, he invested a large sum of money in the cigar company called Arturo Fuente. They are still in business today, and they make a brand called Opus X.
Ah, yes, Opus X is a very rare and expensive cigar.
Oh, you are familiar with Opus X?
I'm familiar with just about everything, and I have, on occasion, had the pleasure of an Opus X on a cool autumn evening. They were the very brand we were smoking on our last ghost outing, Watson.
It is the only brand I am willing to buy. It is my only vice, so I figured I might as well buy the best. I think Bellings is coming back to his old house to continue to enjoy his favorite cigar as well.
What is it, Holmes?
What? Oh, nothing. I was just considering...
The motion detectors! Someone is in the study.
Well, let's go say hello to Mr. Bellings, shall we?
There's no one here.
But something set off the senses, and look.
Yes, it appears that your dragon has been moved from the top of the cigar box.
Yes, I often find it on the desk or on the floor. I assume the ghost moves it to get at my cigars.
Not a very considerate ghost, is he?
And it seems that one cigar is missing. Very interesting.
Holmes, you don't actually believe that this is the work of a ghost, do you?
Before I answer that, Caleb, there is no one else in the house, right?
That is correct, Spencer. My wife is out for the evening. She won't be back until after 10.
Well, in that case, I know where the missing cigar is.
What? Where?
In the inside jacket pocket of my associate, Dr. Watson.
What? Why would he?
I think you can drop the charade now, Caleb. Very good, Holmes, but how did you figure it out?
Just moments before your sensor alarm went off, I noticed the central air had turned on. I see the vent in this room points right at your desk. It was the blowing air that knocked the origami art from the cigar box. As for the missing cigar, the last person in the room was you, Watson, so I concluded that you had taken it, especially once I figured out that you two already knew each other.
And here I thought we were doing a good job acting like we had never met.
I must admit your acting has improved, Watson. But there was one minor slip. Mr. Peterson referred to you as Jack, even though neither of us informed him of your first name.
Gosh, I'm sorry, Jack. It must have just slipped out.
No worries, Caleb. He would have figured it out eventually anyway. He always does.
What I'm still in the dark about is why you played this little game of yours.
Really, Holmes? It's quite elementary, actually. I know how you like a good ghost story, and I also know how much you enjoy a fine cigar. So I figured why not combine them as a gift for you? Your birthday is tomorrow, after all.
Huh, so it is. Very good, Watson.
And this box of Opus X is for you, Mr. Holmes. Happy birthday.
What is it now, Holmes?
I'm just wondering what mystery I have to solve to get a good bottle of brandy to go with this.
Well, I certainly wasn't expecting you to be the culprit, Doctor.
And neither was Holmes, which is why it was so much fun.
How in the world did you ever come up with this scheme?
Oh, I was visiting my friend Caleb to buy some cigars from him for Holmes, when that dragon fell off the desk, as if by unseen hands. From there, we came up with the idea of the ghost, and the rest just sort of fell into place.
And Bellings? That was all made up?
Oh, no, he was a real magician, and he did own that house. He just hasn't returned to visit. As far as I know, anyway.
Well, it's very impressive, Doctor. So what do you have for us next week?
Oh, Mr. Dahlen, I thought you'd remember. I will not be able to, join you next week, but I thought you could tell the audience about the story of the wine critic.
Ah, that's right. I'll see you in 2 weeks then. Tonight's Watson Files adventure was written by Greg Kilberger and directed by Scott Strosahl. Spencer Holmes and Dr. Watson were played by Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger. Additional voices were provided by Steve Rimpici. Until next week, this is Craig Dahlen saying good night from Strobe Studios.
Have you finally made some progress on your Blaine? No.
Dr. Doolittle, actually.
Not Dr. Doolittle, General Doolittle.
Yeah, General.
I was after your Dr. Watson coming.
Wow, so far I'm intrigued. A ghost musician?
Magician.
Oh, a ghost musician?
What is it, Watson? That's not it. What is it, Holmes? I'm talking to myself.